Welcome back to LCARA Ham Radio and our Hamvention 2022 coverage. We stop by the FlexRadio booth and we speak to Matt Youngblood and how FlexRadio might be able to serve our needs for our remote HF station. That's what's coming up next on LCARA Ham Radio.
This is Chris, KY4CKP, and we're up here at Hamvention 2022. We've got KY4BDP Brian behind the camera, and we're here at FlexRadio. And one of the things we wanted to talk to Flex about specifically this year is our club project for a remote HF station. And we're looking to submit an ARL grant on that. And we've been hearing a lot about, hey, you all should consider FlexRadio because they're about the easiest radios to remotely control. So we wanted to stop by the booth. So we're here today. Go ahead and introduce yourself and give us your call sign.
Yeah, I'm Matt Youngblood, KD5FGE. So it's nice to meet with you.
It's good to meet with you. Thank you for your time for this. So that's our main project, is we want to have a remotely accessed radio. We have internet at our main repeater side now, so that's good. And we want to give more of our users access because we have a lot of members who are not always generals or extras. They're technicians, and we'd like to give them access to 10-meter band, or they're new generals and they're not sure what's going on. Maybe we could have some classes, introduce them to the world of HF and that kind of stuff. Plus, we travel, or used to travel a lot, and having access to a system would be nice. So what would be maybe a good radio to look at, or set of hardware to look at for our particular project?
Sure. So all of our radios are built from the ground up on Ethernet. And so the whole purpose of our radios is to be remoted. In fact, the internals of the radio even speak Ethernet. And so from our baseline all the way to our top line, we build in remote as a core functionality. And so we are actually, the reason why our name keeps coming up is because we built our reputation around remote operation with radio. Okay, so all of our radios have an Ethernet port on the back, and it's plug and play remote. So you plug it into your home network, you create a username and password, and anywhere you log in using that username and password, you can operate the radio. So you can do that from a Windows PC, a Mac, an iPhone, an iPad, all of that, or our Maestro device, which is a portable front end for our radio. All of that is just plug and play. So like I said, you can start from the base of our line, which is the Flex 6400. And that starts at just over $2,000, and we're actually running specials on those as well at the show. But you can run all the way up to our top of the line model. So with the 6400, you can actually have two users logged into the radio simultaneously. So there are two independent receivers and two spectrum displays that each can be shared with a different operator. And so it's really unique for operations like yours because you double your capacity, right? So the way that works is you use the same username and password and you log in, and two different clients can be connected, and it can be from anywhere, right? They could be they don't have to be local to the station or local to each other. And so so that's a real brief nutshell about what we do.
Do you have an idea about how much bandwidth is generally required for this?
Yeah, so the way I like to describe it is that if you're running at kind of a normal operation where the refresh rate on the pan adapter and the waterfall is at a standard operating amount, that looks good to your eye, 30 frames per second, this type of operation, that's going to require about a megabit per second in bandwidth. Now, all of that's variable, and each of those are sent as frames, and each of those frames require data. So if that's a problem, if that's too much data, you can turn down the frame rate and reduce your data dramatically. So let's say you reduce both the frame rate of the pan adapter and the waterfall down to a frame per second. You'd be left with just the audio, which is less than 200 kilobits per second. So generally runs about 160, 170 kilobits per second.
And that's really pretty efficient.
Yes,
to do this remote stuff. So it sounds like that could be a good use for us. Do you have anything new or interesting at the show you'd like to share with folks this year?
Well, our newest equipment is really on the power side. So we also offer high power. So if you're eventually thinking to go to 1500 watts, we offer the Power Genius XL amplifier. and the Tuner Genius high-powered antenna tuner. And the other benefit with those is those are also built from the ground up for remote. Plug and play with our radios. I mean, you plug it into Ethernet, you select the IP address of the radio on the application, and it's connected, right? And so all of that works remotely. So you could be operating 1,500 watts from across the globe. One other thing I wanted to mention is the way that our remote interface works is that we actually have a server hosted on a cloud server network called Microsoft Azure. And what it does is it brokers an exchange between your client, where you're operating from, and the radio. And so when you log in, the server is identifying where the radio is and where the client is, and then brokers a handshake between the two. Once that's done, it steps out of the way, so it's just direct connection. So the nice thing about this is that it dramatically simplifies the setup of remote, so you don't have to go through a complex IT setup. And then also it makes the bandwidth requirement much less. So you don't need to worry about a remote desktop or other kits to handle CAT or that sort of thing. So on our PC, you can load our application, which will handle a virtual CAT capability and virtual audio capability. So if you're using WSJT, for example, to operate FT8, all of that is done remotely in the same simplicity as just connecting to the radio. So you can operate, FT8 from across the world without any complex setup.
Okay. And the Flex radios, are they 6 to 160 meters? What is their coverage?
Yes. Yeah. So 160 through 6 meters. The base radio comes with 100 watts. And the 6400 is an optional antenna tuner, which is rated at 3:1. And so the auto tuner, it works great remote as well. And then our radios will step up from that capability. In fact, the 6600 is an excellent radio for your application. So as I mentioned, the sharing of the radios, there are actually 2 RF front ends in the 6600. And so you can receive on 2 different antennas at the same time. Nice. And so if you have 2 users logged in, they can each effectively operate as a completely independent radio. The only thing that's shared is the transmitter between them. So, yeah.
Well, Matt, we really appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting to hear about Flex Radio. We know they're great radios.
Yeah.
I've never owned one. And it sounds like it might be a really great fit for our project.
Yeah.
So this is Chris, KY4CKP at Hamvention 2022. Thanks to Flex Radio and Matt for taking the time to talk to us in 73.
73s.